Okay. All right, let's see. Good morning, John.
Good morning. Hi, Jan.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just got off the CVEP conversation. That was a good meeting this morning.
Any highlights?
Well, CVEP's in good shape, and there was a couple good conversations about what it costs for housing. There's a new Amazon distribution, last mile kind of distribution center going in at the old, what was I think at one time Pace Club. And then it's Gerald Ford and Date Palm, and that was back in the early 80s, I think. Then it became Sam's, and they're going to put Amazon in there, and some other things happening. But
Burlington Coat Factory was in there, I guess.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that the CVEP team is a lean, mean machine. I mean, they are really effective, efficient workers, and they do a great job. So they're in good shape, and Joe's getting all sorts of invitations to speak at places. He was invited onto a SCAG review committee about adding broadband to infrastructure, but to kind of lessen the impact of greenhouse gases through driving. So they're just an impressive group. That's an impressive team.
Nice.
Great. Hi, Kathleen. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
How's things going? How were the events last Thursday? We couldn't join because of council, but how did things go with your double header?
It was highly successful. There was 139 signups. Attendance was 79. And by the end of it, there was still 51 on board. So that was really great.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Everybody had a good time
Good, good.
and a great conversation.
Great. Salima,
Hi,
happy
everybody.
birthday.
Marnie,
Thank
Happy
you.
I finally get to see you.
Yes, it's nice to see you all. See you all.
Birthday?
Sorry,
So, how's business?
we had a pretty good weekend actually. It was good. It was really nice to have that outdoor seating. But our takeout is still strong, which is a good sign that people are choosing to stay home but still support. So it was a really nice mix. I'm glad. It's good.
Good.
Thank
So,
you.
The outdoor seating is working.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to decide whether we expand it and make it bigger. That's a cost that, we're dipping into reserves as it is. And I'm hoping we'll talk a little bit about some of that, but trying to decide whether that's worth it and whether we'll get shut down as soon as we build it. Or maybe we could just manage with the facility we have right now. Plus we want to be careful that people aren't on top of each other.
Right.
You know?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we try, but people still come in big groups.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's tough because you have to be the bearer of bad news, and my poor staff, it's been tough for them. They've got some stories to share, and when you're in the service industry, you can't really, not be nice to them. And they're hungry, so then it doesn't help any.
No. What do you call that?
Hangry.
Hangry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, the city is doing its best to create some basic public service messages to generate more empathy for essential workers, for frontline healthcare workers, and all that's going to start rolling out imminently. It's taking to get some high quality stuff produced.
That would be great to have a unified message to share, because you're right, it is hard for the people that are actually having to deliver the message.
Yeah, and what concerns me most is putting the people who are already in jeopardy in double jeopardy, you know, by making them be kind of the advocates for themselves. I feel strongly all of us should be advocating for them.
Right.
So we'll try to ramp it up.
Yeah, no, that's fair. There's two sides to the story too. I think there's a lot of workers that would rather risk going to work and then having a paycheck versus not. So I think there's also the other side that, you know, not that it's right to break the rules, absolutely, but I do empathize with people who, you know, chose to do what they needed to do for their staff as well. I mean, I think there's other restaurant owners here, but you know, your staff is your gold. They keep you going. John, I don't think we've met. I'm Salima. I've heard lots about you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm glad you showed up today. We appreciate your input.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the invite.
And Grill a Burger consistently wins best Coachella Valley Burger, John. So you'll want to get over there.
And let me ask a city question, a city and Coachella Valley Economic Partnership question. How's everybody on PPE? Anybody need any more? I know I took some to Grill a Burger. I've taken it to Ray Rod's Joint.
Yay!
Anybody need any? You sad? Because if you need it, you just have to let us know. Eric, you good on it?
We're good, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, just let us
Yeah,
know.
we're good too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's been a great thing that you've provided, so to buy it online is not a good thing.
And CVEP has been a great partner with it, and we're getting a bunch more masks and hand sanitizer. So do not hesitate to get in touch and get free PPE.
I carry a bag in my trunk, so anytime.
Excellent.
Jan and I do delivery in our free time, air quotes. You restaurateurs know about free time. Non-existent, right? You're always on duty.
Looks like Ray's at the best patio in the valley there. You at work?
Hey, Kathleen, can you turn your audio up just a little bit?
Yeah, you know, thanks for telling me. Is that better?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Thank you for that.
You know, on different Zoom calls, I seem to need different settings.
Yeah.
So it's just making, because where I set it right now, on the other calls, they tell me, turn it down, turn it down. So.
All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? Pam, why don't you go ahead and lead this? You know, I know you had set it up, and thank you everybody for showing up. I do believe that we, you know, have an opportunity here with the restaurants, but we also have a big challenge because they're all over the board, and they, you know, typically are wanting to do their own thing, but I think that there are some things that we can do as a chamber, as a city, to assist the restaurants in a different way with a restaurant association that we've been trying to get together. But due to everything that's been going on, the restaurateurs are scrambling, and they frankly haven't had the time to really gather to talk about what can be done collectively to make this beneficial for everybody. So having said that, go for it, Pam.
Well, thank you everybody for coming this morning. I have a couple of restaurant owners that have not joined the meeting, although they had said that they were going to. So I think we've kind of hung on long enough and we just need to get started. So what we'd like to do really is open up the communications and find out, could a restaurant association serve our community? And how can it serve the community? What do the restaurateurs need in regards to a voice, some leverage with legislation, etc. I know that City Council has made themselves available to the restaurant businesses. They've been listening and responding, and we just want to know if we should form a collective voice, if that would be of benefit to anyone, that we can actually facilitate the communications on your time rather than having to chip away at different city council meetings, etc. So let's hear from Ray. Ray, have you got any thoughts on this? Thank you.
Well, thank you. Hello, everybody. Sorry about all the movement, but I don't do a lot of Zoom meetings, and so I'd have to find a quiet place. And so thank you for bearing with me. You know, having been involved with different versions of restaurant associations, you know, for really 4 decades now, we're tough hats. We're tough cats to herd. Actually, independent restaurants, they've got a lot on their plate. Often they haven't been trained in collaboration between other businesses. We're seasonal, and I could give other reasons why this is a difficult effort in our community. Now, that said, the reason I'm here is because I think right now is an opportune time to start something. So my suggestions would be that you have to limit what you're going to ask of the restaurateurs if you want participation. My suggestion when I chatted with Jan when she contacted me is you want a big net. You want to get information out to a lot of restaurateurs, but you don't want to make them do anything. So that would mean a tight body that they would have access to. Anybody who wanted to be on the board probably should be able to be on the board at some point. But I think if you keep the body tight of committed people, I think you got a good chance. I think the technology is going to help us. You hear this conversation across the board. I was taking my granddaughter to Xavier. From there through business. The technology is not going away because it's a more efficient way for the 7 of us to communicate today. None of us, we save all the drive time. So I think if you keep the meetings for the most part to Zoom, you keep them limited, you keep a tight body, and you keep a tight, well-defined mission statement, I think we have a chance right now. So those are my thoughts on it. Small executive group, big membership group as you could get, the ability to penetrate that membership group. And again, a tight mission statement, and maybe no more for the big body, maybe no more than 1 or 2 meetings a year. And then a flow of information. So I could see it working successfully that way. Otherwise, I think we're all wasting our time.
Okay, and Eric, do you have any additional thoughts on what we can do as what would be our mission?
Yes, and Ray, as usual, very well said. I agree 100% with what you've said. What every restaurant wants out there and needs out there, I believe, is business, and business done the right way. So I think one of the missions should be to market the Palm Desert community to the outside world as part of it. Now that can get expensive, of course, but if we do that in collaboration with maybe the CVB or other entities, that's possible. You know, combine that with including what restaurants need now by law, whether it's COVID training, manuals, things of that nature. Obviously, the PPE has been a great thing, so thank you to the City Council and CVAP for doing that. It's helped me a lot. Instead of having to go out and find it and source it and pay for it and wonder if I'm getting the right product at the right price at the right time. So collaboration, I don't see. It's important, and I have a lot of restaurant friends, including Ray, so we talk. But by and large, we're all islands by ourselves most of the time. And you've probably seen a big dichotomy of restaurants here in Palm Desert in the past 3 or 4 months, some obeying, some not. I'm not going to judge them. It is what it is. So to get a collective group of people with the same mission, that might be difficult. But if they had business coming through their doors, they're certainly not going to complain about it, and they'll eventually see, oh, this is good to be involved with. Because if you're not getting businesses in, you're shutting down.
So what do you guys think is the best way to communicate with the restaurateurs? Is it email? Is it letters? Is it phone calls, or a combination of all that?
And I think Salima can speak to that. She's quite an expert in the social media field. So she knows sort of how to reach different people on different levels.
Can I just add something really quick? It's kind of to add to what Eric said. Ray serves on the Palm Desert Marketing Committee, which he serves, it's a very tight bylaw that decides who will be on that committee, and he represents, as a local restaurateur, he represents that entity. And he probably could then be a great liaison back, because he can bring back all the information that the marketing committee is doing for Palm Desert, and also bring your input to the marketing committee. Thank you.
Great idea.
Okay, Salima, can we hear from you a bit?
Yeah, I think one of the easiest ways to get a hold of everybody, especially now, and we're always attached to our phones, we're connected to social media, is to create some sort of Facebook page that's just private and can only be administered, you're only allowed in if the moderator allows you in, so you can verify who's in there and who's not supposed to be in there. But I also think, I agree with Ray, I think we need a tight body to sort of move things along. Otherwise, if you have too many cats in the herd, as you said. But I do think we need a diverse group. I mean, everybody here seems to be on the right side of what the regulations are. And I think it's important to hear from those who aren't always doing what they're supposed to do or regulated to do. And Eric, you brought up a great point. If you're not getting business in, you're going to risk whatever you need to risk. So I think if we're going to have this tight body, I'd really advocate for, as much as it will be difficult, I think it's important to hear all sides, and then we come up to real solutions. But yeah, a Facebook group, a private group, is pretty secure, as much as Mark Zuckerberg lets us be, but it's an easy way to get everybody.
It's all right.
And the challenge if we, and I agree, we should hear other sides, and I've certainly heard the viewpoints from other restaurants that are open. The fear is that it might get political.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing this because I have to keep my people employed. Other people are saying, well, we're following the law no matter what. And obviously I follow the law because that's just the way I am. I don't like a gray area of business. That could get to be in a battle, kind of like the Republican Democrat debates all the time. So that's the one danger. It's important we hear, but if it gets as part of a forum, then, we see it all day long on Facebook and LinkedIn of just people battling.
Yeah. Ray, you had something?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. Yeah, I agree that the cell phone or computer communication will undoubtedly be the best. I think if we're going to make this about COVID, we're probably a little too short-sighted. I think that's just a short-term issue that we're already gotten through the worst of it in my mind, and we'll still have some ups and downs, but there will be these issues of the day. But to me, an organization like this is going to be most effective in helping our leadership define what Palm Desert will be into the future from a hospitality perspective. Because some of you will know this, but some of you don't. I think it's really important to give background. Let me just start with an overview. When you're looking at our industry, you have individual owners, and then you have
We lost you, Ray.
or a Mastro's or a Tommy Bahamas or somebody that's a part of a big organization. And they're good people. They have different skill sets. They're not always around forever. So we want to include them, but we need to keep that in mind always. And I think it should be people with real skin in the game here that I want to throw out the net to everybody if we do something like this. But just keep in mind, there's two different types of restaurateurs, and it's easy to not see that if someone hasn't made that distinction for you, because some people can come in very attractive, very charismatic, make a big splash.
Your screen froze, Ray. Can anybody else hear Ray?
City or region even going to look like in the future. And some of you know this, but I will tell you, there's a reason why Napa Valley is Napa Valley and Sonoma County, Sonoma County. They decided in the 70s, they made certain decisions. Restaurants would be restaurants. Hotels would be hotels. Wineries would be wineries. They grandfathered in a few, but that's why you don't go to a winery up there and have a big resort hotel attached to it. That's why you don't go to the big resort hotel and have 4 restaurants attached to it. When you do that, you have a developer-dominated landscape. And we have fought that here in the area, but not always successfully, quite frankly. And I'm going to speak freely and frankly here like I do with everybody in my life. I look at something like the river development. I don't like that. I think that could have been done so much better. I like the gardens on El Paseo, but I think we could have done that without 5 or 6 restaurants there if we had a good restaurant association, 1 or 2. I love what they did at Hotel Paseo. They have one essentially 3-meal restaurant, which is a small hotel should have. They have the ability to service their banquets and their corporate visitors, but they shouldn't really be doing multiple rooms or high-end rooms to go in competition with their restaurateurs. So if you want something distinctive in a high-end destination like us, we need to trend a little more towards what they did in understanding our products here, and not just because we want hotel rooms. Say, yeah, bring 2 or 3 restaurants along for the ride. You know, if you're going to do retail, which I don't think anyone's looking to do right now, I just think that this group will have the ability to give input. I'll give one more back element, and this isn't intended to do anything but give a reality what happened. Our city hired in a consultant to come in and look at our restaurants, and he developed a report. And I read the report and I said, well, this makes no sense to me. So Susan Marie and I met with the developer, with our city manager at the time, or met with the guy who developed the report. And so I listened to him why he thought this was good information for our council to act on. And then I asked him a simple question. How many country clubs did you visit and take into account in this report? And he looked and he said, none. I said, okay, well, this is a unique community because we don't just have the 1 club like most towns, or 2. And we have very competitive, not only dining activities, but we have very special event activities. For example, our friend Teresa Maggio, she told me 10 years ago, they had 17 events at Bighorn, and 2 years ago, they had 160. Okay, that's one example. Those people aren't going into the community, so you can't count their rooftops as that, which is what they did. They took high-end demographics, but they don't realize it. Toscana, even though it's not in Palm Desert, they would dine in Palm Desert, just did a 200-seat Wolfgang Putt cascading down to the swimming pool. They wouldn't understand that the Vintage redid theirs. They didn't understand that Ironwood rebuilt theirs. I could go on and on. So this type of conversation opens people's eyes, because there's people who live in our community, been here all the whole time, and they don't understand the effect of country club decision-making on hospitality. They host a lot of banquets and functions that in most communities would go to restaurants with banquet rooms and function rooms. So I think we have to be a little, I think we're on the way. We're on the way to understanding this. And I think this group can start that conversation to penetrate deeper into our community. And we can start making different decisions when developers come with restaurant plans or development plans. So that's it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. So influencing
Wait.
economic development.
Could I just reflect on what's been said so far for a second?
Certainly.
Because I find it extraordinarily powerful, just extraordinarily powerful in affirming to me how useful and effective association could be. Here's a confession. I'm in my 5th year on the city council. The issue that Ray just described, and we're friends, right? We talk, but the issue you just described of thinking about how many restaurants are in a proposed hotel has never been on my radar as an important issue affecting our capacity to preserve our unique assets. And unique assets are what sustain hospitality. I break out in a rich rash when I drive around Southern California and I look at these commercial retail sites that all look alike. You know, they could be anywhere, and they have they have all the same chain restaurants. That's not who we want to be. Now, thankfully, in the 5 years of my confessed innocence, I haven't approved any hotels with umpteen restaurants. But just this conversation has made so clear to me what a difference it would make if there's an active association watching the agendas, watching for opportunities to advocate, and then advocating with the full force of its membership. So I'm pretty moved.
Yes, Jan.
Thank you, and yes to everything the mayor just said. We've been fortunate that during some of the times on our council when we've had people come in, and we have a developer currently wanting to come in and his sale pitch was, this is one of the hottest chains in the country right now. Well, chains are hot for a minute or two. And we've been, where we have been fortunate is that we have had restaurateurs like Ray, like Eric, speak up. And we need them to help us support us in those decisions we make. And they're not always easy decisions to make when we have perhaps some people on the council who've not been there for a while or don't understand that they've never heard a tourist say, you got to go to Palm Desert. They have the best McDonald's ever. You may hear they got the best burger at Grill-A-Burger or the best margarita at Casuelas Cafe, or I love that chicken dish at Eric Marcus's. You may hear that, but you're not going to hear the change discussion. And so we do need support sometimes, and we've been fortunate, we've gotten that from our restaurateurs, but if you had a group coming together, it would be so effective. And right now we're dealing with an issue with a developer who is intent on putting something in there. And I want to mention one other thing. We had an issue with somebody who was determined to put in a Chick-fil-A on the corner of Monterey and 111. And we said no, because that's, first of all, it's an image corner. It's one of our highest daily traffic count corners in the valley and in Palm Desert, to be sure. And we fought against them. And they said, we'll never come in here with a Chick-fil-A. That's all there is to it. Well, they're building it right next to the 10 on Monterey now. So they will come in. It's just the heat of the moment is difficult. We also had somebody who wanted to put one in over near the Carlos Ortega Villas, the senior living housing development. And thank you, Ray came out and spoke about it. They wanted another drive-through, and we don't really want drive-throughs. And Ray, you can talk about your experience in the parking lot with those developers. So we do need the help. We sometimes we need a little propping up there, and we need a lot of information. So I can see that the Restaurant Association would be helpful to all the council members. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, Jen, that's exactly a role I think this can play is, you know, we elect a council to make decisions, but boy, we'd like to be able to give them the best information they can when they make those decisions. And some are going to go our way and some aren't. But I will tell you, this shouldn't be, I don't view a restaurant association as a body of no, because restaurant entrepreneurs are incredibly optimistic people. Okay, and here's where it can be also a body of yes. I'll give you another example historically. We have the Food and Wine on Palm Desert, and I wrote a note to the council, went to it, didn't see Palm Desert. Saw some casinos, saw some chains, didn't see Quisto, didn't see La Spiga, didn't see Jillian's, didn't see Casuelas. Didn't see Cork Tree. We went down the list, I went down the list. None of them were at the Palm Desert restaurant. Well, there's a way to do that. But we have to create an organization that can give the council or the staff a format that says, this will work for them. They'll do just fine, whoever's putting on the event. I happen to pick that event. It doesn't matter, any event. This template will work just fine. Don't let them cry poor to you. And Palm Desert can be there. But they can't ask us to go and work for free and subsidize their profit-making venture. That doesn't work, unfortunately. Where we can be yes is instead of just saying, you know, we really don't want Chick-fil-A on the corner of Monterey and 111, and I applaud the council for that wise decision. But we can, as a group, begin to target other areas. Who do we want here? Maybe when I look around, I don't, and you mentioned Chick-fil-A, but I use this example all the time. I don't see a really good chicken place here in our area. Okay, remember we had a Kenny Rogers, we had a Boston Market, but we would be really cool with more of a, I mean, they have a great chicken place in Coachella. You know, if any of you know about that, Pollo Dieta, there's a line out the door. But we can, this body can serve as a conduit to identify small operators, whether we find them in Austin, Texas, or Arizona, or La Jolla, and say, you know, there's a niche in our community, and why don't you come in and take a look at Palm Desert, and here's our city staff and council, and here's some spots you might like, and the numbers are right, and we'd like to have your product here because it is distinctive and boutique-y, because Jen is correct. When people come here, they want flavor. They do not want the same thing they can get downtown where they left.
Well, we don't have an economic development arm with the chamber or the Restaurant Association at this time. I wonder if maybe because the city has an economic development arm, that we feed information to them to help in that endeavor. Just really unify what the city has, the chamber has, what's already existing rather than trying to reinvent. Maybe we just help get the information over to those that can be effective with it.
And I think a joint effort between the community development department at the city and economic development, that would complement that information. That would make the best use of that information.
Yeah, okay.
Well, obviously, this wouldn't be a decision-making body. All we're doing is taking information and disseminating it so that council or the chamber, whoever, understands what our thoughtful position is that we've already vetted through our membership and through the executive body. That's all we're doing. We're not actually going to be, we're not policymakers, and we're not going to be doing anything. We're just going to be providing the best information we can from a wide variety, as you mentioned, of you know, what makes up our restaurant community.
Yeah, I was looking through the city's business license listing, and I identified with country clubs, hotels, etc. The number of restaurants that have licenses is 196. That does not count the people that cook from home and have a home business. So I think everybody should automatically be a part of the Restaurant Association. I don't see a dues structure being necessary unless we are thinking of providing our own marketing dollars. I think it's just guidance and requests to the entities that are there as to the direction that we would like things to go, is how I see it.
Well, and make note, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to segue a little bit on that. I think I love all the conversation, but you know, as an independent restaurant and as a business person, I get impatient. So sometimes I worry that we're creating another group that'll just bottleneck another decision that might not ever happen. So I appreciate all this. I think it's really important, but I hope that we keep in mind, like you said, Ray, early on, we even if we did have time, it's not wanting to be on a call to talk about the thing that we're trying to take a break from. So I think as long as we keep in mind that we try and keep the bureaucracy out of it, we be a little bit more swift about things. If there's already a resource there, that we don't try and reinvent the wheel. I think that, you know, some pressing issues that we don't really have a lot of time for, even though COVID might be sort of at the end of the tunnel, you know, we've still got third-party vendor mafias out there that are taking 30% of local restaurants at a time where we need delivery services, but then are stuck. So there's lots of cities that are putting caps on that, including Palm Springs. And I don't know if that actually went through or not. So I hope that if we do this sort of collaboration, that we are able to show the restaurateurs that we're actually moving things forward so that they will get more involved. They will believe that it's an important thing. But if we just end up being another body of city council that sometimes doesn't have a choice, but it moves slow, I think it'll frustrate a lot of people to think, I don't want to be part of that. So I think if we show some swift movement on a few things, you'll get some excitement. And I just wanted to share that before we get too far out.
Thank you.
Salimi, do you have any idea what one thing that we could do something swift on to show the restaurateurs that, you know, we mean business?
Yeah, I actually have two things that I think
Okay.
would be really great. And that is some sort of outdoor equipment reimbursement or support. I know Newport's done that, you know, various other cities have done that just for, it could be $1,000 grant if you bought some heaters or something, just because I love the PPE, but we have a lot of masks now. That's great. Now I need the support on who do I get to build a fence for me? I don't always have time to source that all out, or who's got heaters that I don't have to search at every Ace Hardware and Walmart to try and get. And then of course, my big issue is the third party, I call it the third party mafia. I'm really frustrated with this delivery system that, you know, on the Super Bowl had a wonderful commercial about supporting local restaurants when they're literally blindfolding us with their fees. So I really would like to see some of that movement, because I know personally there's 2 restaurants that had to shut down because they just didn't realize all the fees that they were having to pay out until COVID was sort of coming out, and they went, oh my gosh, I didn't make anything this month. I mean, those are extreme situations, but I would like to see some support there. And then, yeah, just those 2 things, the third party and the outdoor equipment for the immediate need. And then I think Ray's history and understanding of what we need to do for future developments, I think is fantastic.
Are you aware that the city offered money for outdoor dining?
No, well, I had messaged Kathleen back and forth. And so we had somebody call us, and then we've been playing a bit of telephone tag, but that might be a communication issue. There is no place I can go, or that I know of. So if I don't know of it and I'm pretty involved, I guarantee you there's 50 other small restaurants that don't know about it. So it is going to be a communication issue, how we get that information out.
That is hugely frustrating because I explicitly asked staff to connect with you in particular to make sure that you have that knowledge. So the programs exist, and that tells us that we have to improve our outreach and communication. The third party exactions, let's do something about it. Let's do something about it. We don't have a pending discussion at City Hall about action on that front, and there's no reason why we couldn't.
Thank you. That would be great. Sorry, Ray.
Yeah,
and they do have that in Palm Springs. It's just hard to enforce. I've been hearing restaurants have been complaining to the vendors, and they're slow to move. So
Well,
if we do it, we should do it swift, and then just basically ban them if they're not going to comply. Because these great big Uber Eats and Postmates, they're we think about layers of businesses. I've talked to my boss's boss's boss, to the shareholders, and that's the challenge. But that should be done. Because I hate paying these people more than I make, way more than I make.
Yeah,
I'm going to
Ray.
another side of that. One, none of us have to pay them anything. I don't use those services at Cafe. I do use them at another one. I negotiated the rate down to 18%. So some of it is, you can't look to government to do things we can do for ourselves, okay? But a restaurant association can get out information. We don't need government to say, we sign the contracts. People bring me contracts all the time. I scratch stuff out and put in what I want. And they say, okay. So part of a restaurant association is we can help each other understand things like that. You don't really need government to do things that we can do for ourselves.
But it is nice to have a bit of backing, Ray. It is nice to know that if it's published out there, if it's on the news, they're going to do this, then I'll stop getting the harassing calls from Postmates saying, if you don't sign this, we're going to stop sending you $16,000 of business. And I'm thinking, you already sent it to me and I didn't have to pay you a dime. I agree with you, Ray. I don't sign any contracts with those guys, but they still harass my employees. They tell us that there's a law coming out. It's just crap, excuse my language, crap like that I feel like if we had a published law, whether they agree to it or not, I think it sends a statement to them that we stand together and the city stands behind us and they support these local places, not the manipulation.
I misunderstood your intent. So I'm in agreement that nobody should be receiving harassment calls, but unfortunately I get them all the time for financing. But I mean, every day, like 7, 10. The other thing is, I just want to make sure that I do highlight in this meeting, at least, because we're going to talk to other people, what our city has done for us. Quite frankly, when they did the program where they did essentially forgivable loans of $25,000 up to that for restaurants, to me, I didn't see another city around here do anything like that. And then they followed up with the second one that I believe is percolating for many people at about 10,000. I didn't see any city around here do that. So I do want to, we have some council people on here. We need to recognize that. Now, if we didn't apply for that, or we didn't do that, or we didn't understand that, I think probably there's still an option there. I don't know, but our city has gone really above and beyond from my perspective, because I'm not one to tend to look to government for help. But it's been nice what they've done. And I think having an organization like this will help us all understand certain things we can do and certain things we do need a helping hand from government for. One of the big issues that's going to move forward that I think our council deserves thoughtful, different perspective conversations on among ourselves and showing pros and cons from differing sides is, what are we going to do with all the outdoor dining once once COVID's gone? What are we going to do? Are we going to keep it? Are we going to keep it as it is? Are we going to allow it, but we're going to create a relationship between the owner of the property and the city where there needs to be a safer build out? Because the first guy who has too many margaritas and runs into someone on El Paseo, we don't want that to end outdoor dining if we do it. So there's going to be a big issue about this moving forward. You can see it. Other people, I am not that person. I'm in favor of outdoor dining on El Paseo. Other people aren't going to look at it like I do. They're going to say, hey, I paid for my patio. Hey, I dealt with the agencies. Hey, I'm into this thing deep. What do you mean you're going to give them free land and free outdoor dining for their business?
You know what, Ray, this is the perfect example because that conversation started and this is where we could use the input.
Right. So there's another example of where we can vet a community opinion and we can write out, well, here's the majority thinking this way, but here's some dissent thinking this way, and you get the information. Again, we're not decision makers. We're just going to try to feed them the best information. And sometimes in give and take amongst ourselves, our positions develop.
Right. Great point.
Okay.
That's why I think the diversity of our group, although it may lead in battles, and I agree, Eric. It can get really nasty. Hopefully some of that will tone down in the next few years as we see some positive light with COVID being on its way out. But I do think that having diversity in thought is going to allow us not to make the decisions, but at least to give the input so those who are in charge can make the best decisions.
Yeah, because the reality is, you know, I'm fond of saying you can't get 10 people to agree on free ice cream in the park in the summer because 2 are going to be lactose intolerant. One's going to say, what? Only vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry? And the third one's going to say, that's not healthy for you. You know, why can't we have fruit? So you're going to be at 51%, you can run the world. You know, you're always going to have dissent. It's always going to be vigorous. It's always going to be in your face. If you endeavor to include a lot of people, that just comes with the territory.
You know, I think it's important to set a guideline in the beginning that says, even though we can have differences and different points of view, no politics. The moment a political note gets in there, it needs to be removed because this isn't about politics.
Right.
I agree, Jan, and you can control that.
That's
So
great.
what's the next step then?
Well, I think we have to determine a couple of things, the mission of the group, and then who is going to be a part of it in regards to the leadership of it. And that's, I think, the 2 most important things right now.
Okay, and Pam, I have taken lots of notes. I am happy to type those up. And I know you were taking notes. I'll send them to you and then you can send them out for everybody's input, okay? And that might be a good starting place.
Yeah. Now, would everybody be happy with meeting again next week once we get the notes typed up? Just a little quick overview. This is where we're heading. Here's our mission or a suggestion of our mission statement. Let's have a little bit of input and then hands up on who would like to be a part of the leadership of the group. Or is this it?
One more suggestion before that.
Yes.
We might want to, if we're going to have a next meeting, not include a lot of people, but if we can think of 1 or 2 other restaurateurs who would be willing to donate their time, at least to that meeting, just one meeting. I have, for example, you know, based on your, forgive me, we don't know each other. I forget your name.
Pam.
Oh,
No, not Pam.
Oh,
Hello, John.
And it was
Salima.
his birthday Monday.
Salima.
Yes.
Okay, Ray Rodriguez. What charming to meet you. Okay, Salima. I don't even know what restaurant you have, and I apologize for that. I hope I've eaten there many times, but I will
Grill a
not.
burger.
Grill a
Oh,
burger.
yeah, I love it. Oh yeah, I go there all the time. Yeah, I love the presentation. Anyway, the menu, it's awesome. I love it. My kids love it. Grandkids love it. Okay, so anyway, if we can think of 1 or 2 more people who might benefit the group from this, I will give you an example, especially with Salima's thought of someone who looked at things differently during COVID. The guy who has Rock's Firehouse, he stayed open and he had a place on El Paseo. Now he has a place out on Country Club. You know, I think he would bring another element to this, but he's a polite man. He's a good man.
Diversity of thought and geography.
Yeah, I think I would like to suggest, if you guys are okay, maybe we include him on that group. I'd be happy to contact him. I had lunch there yesterday. I've spoken to him about as many times as I've spoken with Salima, but I know him through Facebook and conversations there. And we had a great conversation. I think he brings something to the table.
what about Mario from Mario's? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, he's got a diverse group of
Yep.
restaurants throughout
He-
the same theme but different geography. Yeah.
He was one that I had had a good conversation with back probably about, gosh, maybe 6 weeks ago. And he was very open to the Restaurant Association. So I'll ask him as well.
Could I make a suggestion on a substantive front? Because I think everyone has agreed that early showing worth to prospective members is key. On this front of the Postmates Uber Eats issue, maybe a starting point would simply be a one-page document that explains to people their rights and options, because it sounds like we've got, you know, Ray at the one end who's pretty savvy about how to deal with these people, and and then we're hearing about restaurateurs who are surprised by charges because they didn't know what they were getting into. So just a one-page sheet that tells people what their rights are, what their options are, how they can stick up for themselves might be useful. And John and Pam, you know, I'm thinking Karen Sloan might volunteer some time to deal with rights around that issue.
I just, on the chat, hopefully you guys know how to access that on Zoom. On the chat, sent a news article from, I want to say, St. Paul. And it was just in January. And they put a cap in that I thought was really interesting. The article talked about not only just the actual percentage, but the right, they have to get consent before they post your menu. I don't know how many of us are getting, I ordered a burger and I thought it was only going to be $6 and it's $13. And your menu said, well, that's not my menu. That's Postmates putting it on from somewhere. And now I got to give this customer back all their money because they're upset. I know these are all little problems and I get that they're unique to mine, but just an example of things that I think really take up time and restaurants could use some support. And simple, I think a restaurant association with the help of city council, however we do it, would show the city and the people in the city. I think a lot of it did, I posted on my personal page how Uber Eats takes 30%. And so many people said, I had no idea that when I order through Postmates, you guys have to pay 30% of that. And I said, yeah, so sometimes it's just communication. Support local businesses, but don't listen to the manipulation that's there. So this article anyways, shows a few really great ways that the city has advocated for getting these third-party mafia maybe a little bit more in line.
Well,
They are.
That, thank you.
Yeah.
Ray, would you be willing to put together a sheet on advising businesses on how to deal with these third parties?
Well, you know, yeah, of course, I'm always willing to help. You know, I think that would be a really good group. I can put the starter together, but I really think, because I don't have those problems, I think it'd be a better small committee effort, and
Okay.
and you have different insights. But I'm happy to get the ball rolling. And,
Yes, please,
and
that'd be great.
when we speak about, and Salima mentioned, hey, let's make a little bit of an impact right now. The way we're going to make the most impact in this is an area of communication and learning. That's what this is going to be. It's going to be sharing information all with ourselves as restaurateurs to make us a stronger restaurant community. It's going to be sharing information with decision makers and leadership in our area. And ultimately, this is going to penetrate our community, this information. It's going to make us a much better community, I think. So, yeah.
Shared our mission. Ray, I think you need to write that. You need to write that down. That just
That's our mission.
Entire mission right there.
Yeah, you know, I mean, because that's really all we're going to be doing, but it's so important in our business. We all know, we all have multi things to do, but this business is particularly demanding. I've been in other businesses. This one, you really got a lot of plates spinning at once, and then you got hundreds of customers right in your face. It's a little bit unique that way. And so the things we can do to help develop that community within our area is really going to make us a better place. And again, the information that we can forward to our leadership might be important from time to time.
Great.
And again, I'll emphasize what Ray said earlier about, you know, what the city has done and doing for us all. I've talked to a number of restaurants and they didn't know about what the city was doing. They didn't even know about Lupine Plaza. So to get that from the city, this is what they're doing for us, because that's unique. And I applaud the city. I have friends in other cities, of course, and Palm Desert has done far and beyond any other city. Palm Springs is trying, but yet they're still having police go out and visiting businesses saying, make sure you social distance. They visited Kaiser Grill Palm Springs on Valentine's Day at my brother's restaurant. Can you imagine that? Valentine's Day. That's like having the ABC showing up on Valentine's Day. So
one
I applaud the city.
Palm Desert does a lot of really great things, but historically, Palm Desert has not been a toot your own horn city as much as Palm Springs is always out there and patting themselves on the back. And historically, we have not done that. And yet we've done a really good job for our businesses. The conversation about, I love the third-party mafia characterization, I had at City Hall the other day with Neve, who is I call her our babysitter for the council, but she is our administrative assistant. And she was telling me exactly what you were saying, Salima, and how much more it costs her when she uses it. And we had a whole discussion about could the chamber come in and help form its own delivery system for the restaurants. And then we started talking about the Restaurant Association, or how could we find somebody who maybe is in some sort of delivery business within our city to then take it on and do it at a reasonable price per mile or per time. But there are solutions out there, and the first one I think is what Ray said, is telling them, I'm not paying that much. Or, the harassment though is unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, and a lot of small businesses are every role. I'm lucky enough that we have staff that take on some of those frontline roles, but there are some that they're the chef and they're the hostess and so they don't always have time to necessarily go back and bargain back and forth. So again, if we have sort of hey, you know what, the city's going to enforce a 15% cap, or even just providing an itemized bill. How many times have your customers come back and said, how come this cost me $22 more? But they think it's your food. It's actually all the delivery and service charges. Ever tried to order from P.F. Chang's or Chipotle? They have an 11, they have charges. People don't understand. Sorry, I know, but I like diversity. I like to learn to see what's going on. And if you don't look at your bill carefully before you order, you'll see all these sneaky service charges in there. You think the chains are paying 30% to Uber Eats? No, they're taking it from the little guys who don't have time or skill to understand what they've just contracted themselves into. So again, yes, we might not be able to change it, but I do think communication is absolutely important. So if we get that Facebook page started, I don't know if you can sort of corral it or maintain it or administer it, I don't know. But at least there's a place where people can dump their information and at least start spreading some information or realizing what it is that they're even involved in. And you allow people on there that aren't comfortable enough to be in a situation like this, but to post something. Yes, Eric, we're going to get those people that are the keyboard warriors and post really nasty things within our restaurant group, but at least we're hearing from them anonymously or in a way that they have more courage to say what they need to say.
Okay.
I apologize, but I must run. Did I understand Jan was going to put together some notes for the next meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
Jan and I will put together some notes. If
Okay.
you would put together a starter sheet on the third-party delivery, then we can put that into our conversation next time.
So I can send any thoughts I have on this meeting then to who?
Please, you can send them to me. I'll
Okay.
put them together, then I'll send them to Pam for finalized.
Okay, I apologize, but I have to run. Thank you
Yeah,
so
I
much.
do too.
That's okay.
It's 10
We're
o'clock.
On the
we're
right
now
track.
ready to wrap up. We know all your time is valuable.
Can I just say real quickly, I would love to read Ray's thoughts. Is there any way that he could just respond to the email, the initial email where we were all invited? And then maybe we could all share some of our thoughts and then we collate them together rather than.
Can we send the notes out and everybody give us what you don't have and then we'll put it, then you can finalize.
Sure, happy to do
That's
that.
good.
And I got everyone's email, that initial note. I just responded to the center. Will do.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Ray,
Ray.
for your time.
Thank you, Ray.
Okay, so I think we've got some great starting points here. And is everybody okay for us to have a quick meetup same time next week?
Let me check.
Yeah, time to check.
It's good for me.
That'd be the 24th at 9 a.m.
Just a second. Just a
Yep.
second.
9 o'clock works.
Yeah. Ooh,
It works for me.
yeah, I might be good for a half hour. It depends on.
Okay, I don't anticipate us taking a long time because I think we'll have a little more focus. So hopefully half an hour should do it. I think we have to get these meetings as tight as possible in order to respect each other's time, because we're in season right now for the restaurants. So it's very important that we allow restaurants to focus on that.
I
So,
think it's going to cut down a lot on this Zoom call if we are sharing information by email.
yeah,
Then when we get here, we don't have to rehash everything. We just come with outcomes, actions, move on.
Okay,
Jan, you unmuted.
yeah, I will get those notes to Pam by the end of the day today, and so we can get rolling.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Does anybody have any last moment ads?
No, thank you, Pam, for organizing this. I appreciate it.
That's great. Have a
Thank you
wonderful
so
day.
much.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
See you later.
See ya.
Bye.